All right, cool. Well, that gives us plenty of time for Etai to present Sakota and the integration with Great Expectations. So, all you, Etai, feel free to share screen.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks everyone for having me. It's a pleasure to kind of see you all here. I see some familiar faces in the audience, which is really nice. And it's always nice to kind of showcase what we've been building with a great community like you guys. So really appreciate the time here. In terms of getting started with kind of the demonstration here. I usually find that a good place to start when I'm kind of going through Secoda is to give a little bit of background before I just jump into things about what we actually do. We're a relatively new company, and I think that background gives a lot of context over why people are actually using Secoda. And so I'm Etai, I'm one of the co-founders of Secoda. Secoda stands for Searchable Company Data, SE, Searchable, CO for company, and DA for data. The idea behind Secoda came to us when, after working with many data-related products, having a lot of frustration kind of dealing with data in different companies, kind of realized that a lot of the accessibility to data wasn't that simple for people outside of the data team. And so we started building Secoda as a Google search for a company's data. You can come into this workspace that I've created here and search for something like a customers table, and Secoda will return all the associated customers tables or any orders tables that might match what you're looking for. The nice thing about Secoda, unlike traditional data catalogs that you might be familiar with, is Secoda does a couple of things differently. The first is we're really focused on creating the viewer experience or people outside of the data team's experience with data. And the way that we do that is by simplifying the ways that someone can actually view data outside of the data team, but also by giving people on the data team flexibility over statuses. So if you don't want certain tables or certain columns published, you can actually choose to leave them in draft or in a review mode until they're ready to be viewable. The other thing that Secoda does that's a little unique is we really focus on the long tail of integrations when it comes to what's available in the data stack. A lot of traditional tools in our space will focus on, this modern data stack, and we really think that there's a lot of value, not only outside of kind of the core three warehouses and the core BI tools, but also within tools like Great Expectations, Amplitude, and a lot of other kind of reverse ETL tools or ETL tools as well. All of these kind of different tools help us influence our lineage diagrams, our metadata, our notifications, and help admins in Secoda create better knowledge bases that kind of are comprehensive to their entire data stack. And so over the course of this demo, what I'll be showing you is where kind of this great expectation is stored and how you can get it set up with Secoda, how the integration actually works. So getting the integration set up and then connecting either Snowflake or BigQuery and then Great Expectations as well. And then the results of this integration into Secoda. And then at the end, we'll have some room for questions. I'll also go over the future of this integration, which we've had some requests about. And of course, we'd love to hear from you for some things that might be relevant for us to build in the future. And so just getting started here, I've got my expectations kind of loaded up already on this customers table. You can see that I've created expectations both on the column and the table level, just for the sake of the demo. And I'll be bringing this these tests into Secoda. At the moment, the Secoda integration with Great Expectations supports metadata stores from GCP and AWS. We want to extend the the metadata stores to Azure blobs, but at the moment, those are the two that have been requested. And this will probably be within the next week or so. So if you are storing them somewhere else, we can kind of form fit our integration to you. In terms of setting up integrations with Secoda, one of the nice things with our product is that all the integrations are self-service and all through the UI. And so you can press on new integration when you create a workspace. And you can see right here, we have all the integrations that you're able to load already in Secoda's UI. Before you integrate something like Great Expectations, Fivetran, Amplitude, DBT, what we call our secondary integrations, you will be required to load up a primary integration, so a warehouse or a database that allows us to populate the tables first. I've already connected something like Snowflake, but if you wanted to connect Snowflake, all you would need to do is select the account, the warehouse, the user, the role, and the password. You would test the connection, and Secoda actually allows you to choose exactly which tables are brought in. So which schema you're selecting will determine which kind of information is brought into Secoda. You can also see a history of extractions and what Secoda pulls on every extraction. So you can see we pull the lineage, the common queries, the table metadata, and the table usage. And you can actually run a schedule for your extraction, which is particularly useful for Great Expectations, which I'll get into in a second. So you could have the Great Expectations extraction running every day, every hour, at a particular hour. That way, you know that it is kind of running. Once you actually want to connect Great Expectations, which I've actually already connected here, but I'll just pull it up here so you can see the simplicity of it. We can add the project name, the bucket name, the expectation store prefix, the validation store prefix, and the credentials. All of this is available in the YAML documentation in Great Expectations. And if you have trouble connecting to Secoda, I am available in the Great Expectations community, happy to troubleshoot and help out if need be. You can test your connection. Once that connection is established, you can actually submit and run an integration. We can see the history of metadata extractions into Secoda through the UI, just the same way that we saw from Snowflake. And we can see here, we've extracted the Great Expectations metadata. The query that we're running both on the warehouse and everywhere else is a pretty light query just because we are only querying the metadata. So if you are a little bit worried about us running up the costs, running this thing daily, it shouldn't be too bad. In addition, you can set a schedule, and this is particularly useful for Great Expectations because one of the benefits of adding Great Expectations to Secoda is that you can actually configure notifications based on if expectations failed or were successful on a column or a table. Once you have those expectations in Secoda, you can come into our search and search for a table that you know that those expectations have some information on. In my case, I have this customers table that I've showed you. And this customers table has a lot of information on it that I'll quickly jump to before I jump into tests. Secoda automatically pulls all the metadata from this customers table. For example, the column names, the tags, any owners. If you've got any owners on a table level or frequent users, as well as tags that are available through something like DBT, Secoda will also extract that. Secoda uses this information to give you essentially a canvas for documentation that's very similar to a tool like Airflow or Notion. So you can add owners to particular columns and easily drag and drop this owner to other columns in this table. You can also add owners to tables, and frequent users are automatically generated. Secoda will use this information to then generate lineage, preview, documentation, and will also update you when schema or documentation is updated on this table. On a particular column, Secoda automatically column profiles that column so you can see some information about it. But one of the things that has come up is that beyond column profiling, it would be nice to be able to bring in the tests from Great Expectations to Secoda. And recently we've allowed people to do that. And so right here, you can see that all the tests that we've got in this customers table have been pulled in. We can also see whether successful tests are running or whether they've failed. We can see whether these tests are on the table level or the column level. And if we want to see more information about that test, we can actually just click on it, and all of the information, elements, missing counts, what's actually wrong is brought into Secoda. The nice thing about all of this information is that beyond just being in the UI, Secoda takes further action with it. And so one of the first things that I mentioned is that Secoda is really built around this publishing workflow. And this publishing workflow essentially allows customers to choose whether this customers table is viewable to people outside of their editors or admins. One of the things we've seen customers do with their Great Expectations tests is configure the status of this table to the test. So if you're seeing that certain tests are failing, you can actually choose to move the table to draft. You'll get notified whenever tests are failing. And with Secoda, you can choose to get notifications for these failures either in our app, over email, and you can actually connect Secoda to Slack as well if you want to get them in Slack. In addition, if you go back to the customers table, one of the other things that has been requested by some of our customers is the ability to actually connect a specific table to a specific Slack channel. This is particularly useful with Great Expectations for some of our customers. If you have a channel, for example, called expectations or product or engineering, and certain tables are running expectations with them, and you want to be notified through Slack, you can connect this specific table to this channel and have those tests running. Lastly, Secoda also lets viewers ask questions about particular tables. And if you don't want those viewable or columns viewable based on the expectations that are running, those are also things that you can remove from this table. In terms of the future of this integration for our team, right now, this is sort of our V1 point, let's call it 1.2. We are releasing a version 2 of this integration at the end of the month, which will extend the ability for Sakota to not only pick up the metadata stores from GCP, but also from Azure. We're also going to support more types of databases, so not just Snowflake and BigQuery. And the other thing that we're going to support is the ability to see Great Expectations within your lineage in Secoda. Today, Secoda generates lineage for you for upstream and downstream resources across not only tables, but tables and dashboards, so cross databases. And one of the frequently requested things is to be able to see which expectation failed and which dashboards it affects. Today, Secoda will notify, for example, this Tableau chart or dashboard will identify the owner of this Tableau chart or dashboard. And if schema or documentation changes in this customer's table, Secoda will notify the owner of this dashboard. We want to be able to extend the notifications for Great Expectation to also impact your lineage, so that if something in customer's table is failing for some reason, you can get notified as the owner of this Tableau dashboard. And so that'll be coming out at the end of this month. In addition, you'll be able to pull in any Great Expectation docs. And we're also going to be able to extend the notifications from Great Expectations to be manually configured as well. So if you wanted to, for example, run a quality check on a particular table, but you wanted to change the type of notification that you would get based on a certain test failing, that'll be available in Secoda as well. To wrap up the demo, I guess it's always kind of helpful to see kind of the product in full swing. What customers have done in the past is once they have all this information available on a table, whether it's column level metadata, lineage tests, you can add documentation to a table like headings and queries and you know dividers, and you can even tag different resources and preview that data as well. Once you have all this information in Secoda, our customers create what we call collections, which are essentially a set of resources in Secoda. A collection can be used to share data with people outside of your team or with people inside of your team. And so this can be a great place to essentially centralize all the tables that you have with expectations. But at the same time, it could be used to share data with specific teams, share data about a particular project, and add documentation to it. All the information in Secoda allows you to tag tables, charts, dashboards, common documents, key terms in one place. And if there are certain tables that have those expectations running on them, you will see them in Secoda as well. In terms of the demo, that kind of brings me to the end of it. I wanted to leave some room in here so that there would be questions or there would be time to answer any questions about where we're going and what we're doing. But hopefully this was helpful to kind of get an understanding of what Sakota does, why we're around, and what we're trying to work towards with our product. So yeah, thanks again for the support, for the invite, Kyle, and yeah, thanks for the attention today and for having me.
Cool. Thanks so much, Etai. That was awesome. And you're getting a lot of good compliments on the UI
Oh, that's
in
great.
there, which is
That's
great.
so
Yeah.
nice.
It looks like Ruben had a question. Are search results limited by RBAC privileges?
Yeah, absolutely, Ruben. So the nice thing about Sakota, and I'll quickly share my screen back again so you can see this. Sakota allows you to have pretty flexible role-based permissions. So on our members tab, you can see that you can invite members to the workspace based in 4 different roles: admins, editors, viewers, or guests. You can also create groups for users. So if I wanted to create a group for all my data analysts or my engineers, I could do that. If you are using Active Directory, Okta, or some other sort of management system for groups, we actually integrate with them, so you can bring those groups into Sakota, as well as if you have permissions set on Snowflake or BigQuery, we'll bring those into Sakota as well. On any resource that you see in Sakota, so just going back to this trustee customers table that I like to go back to, you'll be able to see that this sort of customers table or any associated resource can actually be shared with either a specific user or a specific group. You can choose whether to restrict access for this table to a specific user or specific group. And you can also choose whether this person, so in this case, me, can edit, can read only, or can actually access the table in general. The nice thing about collections is that collections can be also used to share permissions in bulk. So if you have certain tables, for example, like a set of engineering tables or revenue dashboards that you only want the finance team to see, you can select only the groups or users that you want to see all the resources within the collections. The last thing I'll mention is that there have been some use cases, some people actually on this call that are also using Sakota to share data with people outside of their team. Because we have the guests role within Sakota, this allows you to share your workspace with people not necessarily with the same domain as you. And for context, viewers in Sakota, they don't see all the kind of chaos that maybe an editor would see. They only see your published resources. And so this allows you to have so much control. In fact, we allow you to even customize your workspace. You can change your logo. And I think in this case, I even changed the appearance of our workspace just for great expectations. And if you flip quickly to this viewer mode, we can see, okay, here's the nice viewer mode. This is what someone outside of my team would see. If they search for customers, they're only seeing the stuff that is published for them. So just a nice way to kind of control access to different data sets, and people outside of the team can then interact with it however they want. They can try to, look through all the information you've created, the lineage, common queries, or they could even ask a question in Secoda about what they're seeing. So really just a two-sided system for these people. Sorry for the long-winded answer there about role-based permissions, but it is something that Secoda does particularly well.
That's really cool. I like that touch for that, like the personalized branding. I imagine that must be excellent for consulting groups with lots of different people wanting to view that data. Is that like was that a demand? Was that a customer demand to have that type of personalization, or did you just sort of come up with that?
It actually wasn't. Like we initially set out with this idea, and there's actually a big update coming to Sakota. I think it should be this week. We kind of had this idea early on that traditional tools in our space were sort of built by technical people for technical people. And we thought that was good for a technical audience, but it seemed like the viewer engagement was always tough. And so we set out with this idea of how do we make data less intimidating? How do we make people confident to actually jump in here and use data? And the analogy quickly came, well, you know what, like most people's parents, whether you're technical or not technical, you could be 90, are pretty confident using Google search. And I think Google has sort of given people the confidence to use the internet, even though they don't have the same technical requirements as someone else. And so, our interface for viewers very quickly became inspired by, okay, let's make it a simple search. Let's customize it so it's inviting. And the reactions for it, you're right, have been just so positive because, you can kind of make it your own.
That's awesome. Cool, thanks. Anyone else have any other questions? And like Etai said, he is in the Slack channel, so you can feel free to catch him there, and we'll make sure he helps out if any Sakota questions. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks so much. All right. Thanks, Etai. And I'm just gonna have one more thing. We're still looking for Great Expectations Cloud design partners. And I know Ben is here, which I put you on the spot every time. Are we still these time frames?
Yeah, that's why I showed up late today. Just doing this morning. So if people are interested to learn more about the cloud product, definitely ping me or Alina, or Matthews isn't on here, but yeah, we'll hook you up with one of those workshops and just share some of our current designs and thinking and talk more about the cloud.
Cool. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, everyone keep an eye out for that. There's some cool stuff coming up soon. And yeah, that's it. So I'll see you all next month. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.